Welcome. I'm so day 2 of Jambark, when we're talking about those stories of courage, those stories of resilience. This is definitely someone who knows both. I'm about to bring on stage Malia, who's going to be speaking about the power of acting with love, integrity, and honesty, and what it was like to write her book, which is about that, and how you can do that, act in love, integrity, and honesty, even when life is turbulent, even when the world feels unstable, even when you're under pressure. This is the kind of leadership we need right now, and and that's because the truth is many people are reacting from fear. Malia's work reminds us that values can be an anchor. So now, welcome, Malia.
Hello, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here. Um, I'm not sure if you can. Yeah, I think it looks like I'm there, and I am not being able to see you, but definitely present to you. First of all, welcome to Jambark, and thank you so much, Akuswa and team, for giving me this huge opportunity to share a little bit of what I have said in my book, but I also believe in. It is my utmost pleasure to be here, yes, but I want to start with sharing something very personal. Not a lot of people know about what happens behind the scenes of anything that happens um, in a political life of a politician or politician to be, and so on. So I thought I'll share a little bit with you. So here I am. In 2021, precisely September 21st, I don't remember what day it was probably a Tuesday, my life came to a sudden halt. For months, I was, um, for months, weeks, days, however much, over a year during the pandemic, my days were full. 9 to 9, sometimes longer, 12 hours of door knocking, talking to strangers, convincing people to believe in me, fundraising, campaigning, hoping to win a election. But that one night, it all stopped. The election was over, the people had spoken, and it wasn't in my favor, nor in that party that I was representing at that time. But that's not what I want to dwell on. What I want to tell you is what stayed with me wasn't the loss, it was the silence that followed. No more door knocking on doors, no more schedules, no more packed wall to wall agendas to make and phone calls to make and people calling us and just being in that zone. So there was no sense of momentum, and it was just pause, a very airy stillness. And I really did not know what to do with it. Suddenly, I was on, back on being a mom, a wife, back to a different kind of routine that somehow was feeling very unfamiliar. Not because I had stopped being a mom or all those things and all those roles that I was having or I already stuck to or loved doing. It was, I think I lost myself somewhere there. I did not forget how to love and care for my family. It was just something inside was amiss. And in that loss and in that disorientation, I know I had made peace with few things. And one of them was the fact that this was not my election to win. And there was always a 50% chance of winning, and there was a 50% chance of losing. And that's democracy. My peace was not anything to not agree with it. I was actually very much at peace about the whole results and the whole election. It was something else. Inside, I was angry, I was anxious, and I was restless. And I did not know where those feelings were coming from and where would I place them, quite frankly. The world had changed permanently. It was at the time that the pandemic had disrupted our routines. It basically reshaped each and every one of us in many ways. Some people turned it into an opportunity, Other people turned it into fear, speculation, conspiracy, anger, and so much more. Misinformation spread faster than truth, in my opinion. This is all my opinion, so please don't take it as someone else's. Um, and what were seeing and watching were people were tired, people were scared, angry, and I was no different. Um, in that time, myths felt safer than uncertainty, and the resentment sat deep for many of us, including mine, sometimes quietly, sometimes in a very loud, explosive manner. I felt all of this around me, and I kind of, if I'm honest, I felt it within me. And I questioned myself constantly. Who am I without the momentum that I had left? What is, who am I without the validation of people around me? And how do I show up for myself, for my family, for the world when I feel so unsettled within myself? Right here, I started writing. I started writing at a pace that I didn't even know that I had. And it was not with a plan, it was not with a book in mind. I wrote because I needed somewhere to put my anger. And I needed a let out. I wrote to record what I was seeing in people. I wrote to put it on paper of all my chats that I had with people and basically what I was feeling. Um, I wrote to calm down. I wrote to calm myself down. And I wrote to went out perhaps, and I kept on writing page after page, thoughts after thought. One did not connect with the other, but it just was a healing mechanism probably, and that's what it was. um, I was trying to slow down enough to understand what is actually making me angry. And anger is not almost, how should I put it, it is like a surface emotion. It is rooted with something unhealed, and I understand that. It was fear, it was loss, it was disappointment, it was grief. I felt very, very vulnerable. And once I understood that, it kind of shifted. Writing for me was healing. So I understood the fact that I was letting out and it was helping. But I also wanted to do something for my writing, and I was speaking with a mentor at that time, and they had said, Malia, when you're on a path, you don't have to be a politician to make the change. You really don't. You actually, what you need is a voice, and how are you using it? And that kind of um, sparked something in the fact that yes, I do want to say a lot, and I want to kind of bring a healing message to a lot of people that we've been through this. All of us in this world, we've been through this together, and how do we heal together and get out of it? So I started writing with how should I put it, conviction. And I didn't write to shame anybody or myself. I just wrote to um, bring a message of healing. And I didn't want it to go into an argument either. Perhaps I was naively trying to remind myself something deeply and what meant to me being a Canadian. What were my first experiences when I had moved here in Canada in 2003. And what I saw at that time as Canadians, I saw people who were kind, who were compassionate. I didn't see weakness in them, and that's what I wanted to share with everybody is what we are as a country, what we are as people, and maybe we need to go back and embrace that. So I started writing. I started sharing my work with a few people, and because it was so scattered and everything, it was um, it, I got all sorts of feedback, good feedback that I actually learned a little bit from it. So at that time, when I started to share my work and show my vulnerability to people who I thought that could guide me, um, I wanted to make sure that um, I reflect my own sense of belonging in the country and my own sense of view of how I saw Canadians around me. You can call me the cynic inside. I think I can be at some point, and sometimes you need to bring hope to people like me who could be cynical, and that's what it is. So I started writing for an idea of how we can come back to our values. And those values can be too good to be true. To the cynical side of me, it could be about righteous hope. But I believe the attempt mattered. And I believe that attempt from me came from something that was with good intention. Let's just put it that way. So I think the world aligned, and I started looking for a way to start putting it into a more structured manner. At that time, publishing was not in my mind, but just completing a book was, I was in that frenzy. So I met a friend, and she recommended our wonderful Akuswa, and that's where we met. And she started bringing some sort of her tools and started sharing some of her tools to streamline my work. Um, and I'm going to read something to you. In my book, I have referenced this particular book a lot. I read this book when I was in my 20s, loved it, but really didn't do anything about it. And I started reading it again for some reason, for bedtime reading or something like that. And I said, you know what? This is exactly what I needed. So I'm going to read something from the book very quickly. And I know the time is of essence, but I think if anybody hasn't read this book, it's a beautiful book. It has a lot of spiritual meaning to it, but some really small anecdotes that may reflect to all of us and may speak to all of us. So I'm going to read from page 81. That's the principle that govern all things. In alchemy, it's called the soul of the world. When you want something with all your heart, and that's when you're the closest to the soul of the world, it's always a positive force. Everything on earth is being continuously transformed because earth is alive and it has a soul. We are part of that soul. We are rarely recognized that it is working for us, and that's what it is. So I I was reading that book, and it kind of reflected in a way that I said, okay, you know what? Let's push forward, and maybe that's my calling, to just write this book and move it forward. On page 118, it says something beautiful that resonated with me and kind of kickstarted a lot of things that I have done with my book. When a person really desires something, all of the universe conspires to help that person to realize this dream. Echoing the word of the old king, the boy understood another person was there to help him towards his personal legend. And this book is a message of how people have been surrounding me all my life here in Canada or outside of where I was born and raised, and moved here when I was in my early 20s. And this book is a reflection of all those people who've helped me during my time here or when I was growing up to be who I am, to be a person, um, to understand how I could be a resource to other, or something in those lines, in a humble way. So um, I, I started on the journey, and I don't believe that anger disappeared by being ignored. It heals when it's understood. And compassion, especially towards ourselves, is often where the healing begins. So, like I had shared the book, I started on this journey to write and write and write. And it's a 2.5 year process of just writing and sharing, and Akuswa kind of doing her thing that she does to align me and to show me and guide me to bring everything together. And that's what we've been doing for the past 2.5 years that I've known her. So I committed to writing, not perfectly, but bravely, and also honestly. And things started aligning. And I can tell you, bravery is another thing that in writing you sometimes need. And I'm going to reflect on something that has happened just over the weekend. I wrote an article about what is happening in the political world, of how people are using and politicizing things and using misinformation or highlighting one small little piece of something and just blowing it apart. And after writing it, I don't know what took over me. I gave it to a magazine and I said, hey, if this interests you, go ahead and publish it. And over the weekend, they came back and they said, we love it. We're going to publish it. And then my heart started beating. Okay, I'm going to reread it. What did I write? And I went into a complete blank of what did I write, kind of a thing. And I started looking at the agreement that they had said that if you agree to let us put that article out, you need to sign all of these things. And I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? Right. So I think the book is also the part that I read it maybe about 10 or 15 times right now, and just sifting it through. Have I hurt someone? Am I saying someone? Am I going to upset my mother? But the one thing that my mentor had said, that you will upset someone, but that's the part of it. It is all. If you've said your piece and you are at peace over here somewhere, you're good to go. There will be haters out there, and it is what it is. It is said that if you've upset someone, maybe you've done the right thing. So, in all honesty, I went ahead and I signed the contract. I'm going to sign the contract and send the article out. Some people might like it, some people might not, but I have shared something that I honestly feel. So that's how my book came to life, not as a political message or a project or a manifesto or something of this sort. It was a personal attempt to write my way back to myself and invite others to do the same. If there is one thing I hope you take from my story, it's this: that writing doesn't have to start as an art. It is sometimes something that you need to survive, and you need to write because you're just trying to survive. And sometimes it's a quiet place where anger softens, where fear gets named, where you find yourself again. If you are in that time or in that bubble that I was, I believe that it's something in your life has to halt, and you need to know that the stillness of life that I had felt, um, it is sometimes the opening to so much more. And you never know, your story might be healing for someone else. So this is my encouragement for you, or just to encourage you to write. And that's what I am here to encourage you in my own humble way to write. I'm going to end this chat with a small writing from my book. Um, I'm not sure what chapter it is at this point because it's all coming along, but these words are going to be in it. It's 100% final, but the fine tuning is still left. So I'm going to start reading a little bit from my book, and then Akuswa, it'll be over to you. These societal norms created physical and mental barriers that limited how much I could explore or achieve. I resented moments when men would sit and eat while women stood by to serve. With little expectations from them to contribute, I hated being told I couldn't ride a bike because girls don't bike. The visible boundaries were restrictive enough, but the invisible ones weighed even more heavily. They shaped how much I could imagine or aspire to. Looking back, I understand that much of the rigidity of everything had stemmed from deep seated fears from the world outside, or perhaps even the shadows of unspoken traumas. Though stifling at times, my mother's rules came from genuine desire to protect us and preserve our reputation. Her intentions, rooted in care, even in the weight of those restrictions, often felt overwhelming. As I grew older, I accepted the circumstances around me, not because I agreed to them, but because change felt distant, almost impossible. Still, deep down, a quiet spark of rebellion remained. I didn't have the means or the courage to act on them. Still, those early years of silence and defiance and resignation gradually ignited a deeper yearning for independence and personal growth. I began to long for different fairy tales where I could think freely, question norms, make my own decisions, and understand life beyond the limits I'd been taught to accept. Those stifling, those early restrictions planted a seed of a journey that would slowly begin to unfold. All right. There's a little bit more that I will go, just a paragraph, I think. But I think the time's up. Kuswa, over to you.
Oh, no, no. Please, if you had more to read, we'd love to hear it.
Okay.
It's
All right.
beautiful. Keep going.
I've skipped a couple of paragraphs and come back to something that is interesting. Moving to Canada marked more than just a change of geography. It awakened a deep sense of curiosity in me, surrounded by new possibilities. I began to question the beliefs I held for long, and many of which were shaped by culture, upbringing, and generational conditioning. I realized that some of these beliefs had quietly placed limits on what I had thought I could say, do, or become, especially as a woman, an immigrant, and someone who had been taught to prioritize duty over self exploration. The cycle was broken through my move to Canada. Suddenly, I wasn't just someone's daughter or wife. In Canada, I could become more than an independent person, which means I could say no, I could chart my own path. That freedom's something many Canadians take for granted was monumental for me. I was empowering and terrifying and terrified. I was empowered and terrified. That move marked the beginning of something entirely new. I didn't realize that the real journey wasn't just about learning a new country, it wasn't about unlearning years of conditioning, it was about starting over. Not just geographically, but emotionally, spiritually, and intellectually. And in many ways, I'm still on that journey, which raised with solid values. While I was raised with solid values in education, previous limits to my horizon expanded in ways I hadn't anticipated. It was a chance to try to get to know myself, learn and unlearn, and explore possibilities I hadn't imagined before. In this new country, I began to observe, learn, and make decisions for myself. I'll be all.
Okay. Right. I just wanted to share the lovely cover of your book. Um, so your book is Contradictions of Passion in Politics. Um, can you and it explores those contradictions. Is there
Yes.
one contradiction you've had to live through personally that you can share with us and how it changed you?
Oh my God. There's so many in there. Right. And the one contradiction, I think we contradict ourselves every day sometimes, but not with, I believe, not with intention. And that's what it is. Sometimes our understanding and our perspective of a lot of things is different until somebody talks to you, or um, until you actually experience something that changes, right? So one of the contradictions in my life was the fact that when I saw my daughter being extremely sick and my husband being having a heart attack out of nowhere, life changed, and I started contradicting myself into, why should we be looking at sometimes the bigger picture of everything? Why can't we be in the moment of just doing these little things that
Mm,
make you happy, right? um, I kind of said no to running again federally because of those little things, because of somehow my perspective had changed. I wanted more family time. I wanted to be with my family more. I wanted to sleep with right next to my husband right there. I
mhm,
didn't want to move away from here or go into a higher position, because right now was just where I wanted to be. But that wasn't the case maybe 6 8 months ago, and that was the one contradiction that I was making left, right, and center, of the way that, how how dare I refuse not to run again when people wanted me to run, and I was like, no, now is not my time. And
mhm.
that's what life, I believe that life changes you in many ways, and I
Yeah.
hope it's always for the good. And even if the world thinks it's not for the good, but if you feel good right here somewhere,
Mhm.
you're good. That's all.
Yes.
And you know what? My life is a testament of I was not raised to be who I am. I was not raised to speak my mind, write a book, be on a podcast, be friends with a kuswa. Of course not. I was raised to be a wife and bear children and be someone's wife. That's how I was raised to be. And I'm grateful for those experiences, but definitely life can be changing.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I know that you expressed how writing for you became for survival. I know that you also paint as a way of expressing yourself,
Yeah.
and that you're giving your gift for readers is that they put their name down for you. We're going to select a reader or two who will receive one of your t-shirts with your painting on. Is that what you're wearing right now?
No, I'm not.
Oh,
I should have actually.
yeah, it looks so pristine. I thought it was a what we
All
weren't seeing was your gorgeous painting because I have one of those t-shirts.
that.
And
Yes,
what I
the painting is the same as the book cover. So it's a
let me see.
t-shirt with not my book itself, just that painting. That's what the t-shirt is. And I chose not to wear it because I will have to probably stand like this and then you won't even see it still.
Yeah, so
Yes,
it's that calm of that lighthouse. And
yes, it's that
so
painting,
that
not the book, but the painting.
yes. Yeah, and so what does that painting mean for you? That image of the lighthouse?
So I just I don't know what happened in at that time, and I was in my mind was crowded with so many things going on. I don't know what snapped, and I picked up paints and started to paint. Thank God, that's the only thing the way that I snapped.
Mhm.
um, but I just started painting, and then we often go to the Whitby Harbor, where the lighthouse is and everything. And I took a picture and started painting that. And that painting has different versions of it, but that particular painting on the book, that painting has been donated to Ontario Shores for Mental Health Foundation,
Mhm.
and they are going to be using that particular painting in many of their ads coming along starting March. So um,
Wow.
they just randomly said, Malia, can you make us a painting? And I said, sure. Why? No, I was curious, and they said somebody stole our art. Like, oh, that's not nice. Stole or took away or something in those lines. I remember stole. And I said, well, I if I start something now, it will take months because I take my time. I have this made and I made it for myself. You could take it. And that's how that painting had a home and it was destined
Yeah.
to go somewhere where I
Well,
didn't even know it was going to go. So
congratulations, because it hung in a gallery for a while before that too, didn't it? The
that was
art
another version.
Oh, a
I
different one?
did that to the gallery as well. Yes.
Oh, beautiful. So anyway, you get you if you someone is going to be as lucky as I am and be able to wear this beautiful picture that really does you can imagine yourself there, and it is a calming thing. It does remind you to seek that lighthouse out
Yeah.
for answers
Yeah.
when perhaps you feel a little turbulent yourself. So anyway, thank you so much, Malia. It's been a pleasure. Um, Working with you, it remains a pleasure working with you, and I can't wait to see where follow you as you continue to lead heart center. That's what we need in our leaders these days. And also her book is going to be released in March, and stay tuned because we'll be letting you know each step of the way how you can be involved with Malia and stay
And
involved
just
with
a
her.
very quick moment. I would all love for you to join me in my book launch. So I'm going to send the invite to Kuswa and she could share it with you.
Beautiful. Okay, we're going to end this conversation now, and we'll have a break for 5 minutes, and next up we'll be talking to Andrew. Bye for now.